Okay, we're live. Okay, so the first ever episode of Mind Shifting Mondays with Mitch, and I have here with me my good friend Josh Chernikov, who is the one who roped me into doing this. And welcome everybody. I hope this becomes valuable for you. And I want to go into a little bit about why I felt that we should do this, and then Josh, you could chime in as well.
Absolutely.
And as I look at, society today, and I talk to people today, so many of us are struggling. We're anxious about, you know, uh, I guess events in the news. We're anxious about work. We're anxious about our families. We don't see a clear path to success and happiness. And as I look at all of that through the studies that I've done over the last 8 years, I can see that mindsets are critical to achieving success and to living happy lives. And so I've decided to make my goal for a minimum of 5 million people to be able to live being resourceful, resilient, and collaborative, to share those experiences with each other and to share them with other people. And my feeling is that if we could get a critical mass of 5 million people doing this, we would all feel more successful, we would all be happier, and we would all be living better lives. And one of the ways that I've been doing that is by offering the mind shifting courses to educators, really free. And currently, these are offered in the states of Washington and in New York, although we'd love to include other states and other districts in this also. But there's three different courses: one on building resourcefulness in ourselves and in our students, one on building resilience, and one on building collaboration skills. Each course is about 20 hours. It's about 12 hours online. I've written two books on this, and then I just was feeling that the progress could go even faster if I tried out other medium. And so that's why I'm doing these half hour Monday mind shifting, so that we can talk about issues that concern, each one of you, that I can focus on particular aspects of mind shifting, and we can get discussions going. And then afterwards, you all can go to, say, my website, mindshiftingwithmitch.com, and reach out to me. You could look at the YouTube channel and you can see these on YouTube. And that's the goal, is to speed up that process where 5 million of us in the world are able to live with, resourceful, resilient, and collaborative lives. And I'm going to, Josh, I'm going to, ask you, you're the one who pushed me to do this. Do you have additional thoughts on that?
No, I'm sitting here thinking, I feel really fortunate to be one of the 5 million because I really believe in what you're doing. I look at it in several different ways because I wear a few different hats, from being a business owner to being a father to being a human being. And so, what I've learned from you already in mind shifting has been really relevant. And um, you know, just so people know, we pick this time on purpose for Monday afternoons, when maybe if you're a teacher, you're in your classroom, or if you're, in an office in Manhattan, maybe your day has calmed down a little bit, and maybe it was a bad day and you're trying to shift that mindset so you have a great rest of the week. And then we're going to replay this at 7 o'clock Eastern, so 4 o'clock on the West Coast, so those people can get to see this. So we're trying to be very intentional about getting mind shifting and Mitch out to the wider audience. We're starting with a few, and we'll get to the 5 million.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking, as we were talking about doing this, I was myself anxious, nervous about doing this. I mean, all the concerns about, is anybody going to be there? Can I talk for a half an hour? Or is this going to be boring? I mean, certainly my wife was like,
Mm-hmm.
Mitch, nobody wants to listen to you for a half hour.
Mm-hmm. Well, not
So,
her.
well, not her. I mean, she will listen to me for about 5 minutes. So
Oh, yeah.
I'll take it as it comes.
Well, then the show's over because we're at 5 minutes and
Right.
3 seconds.
And she's gone. And she's
Yeah,
gone.
she's out.
Um,
That's true.
so I have all these thoughts going through my head. Who are you to do this? Is the technology going to work? And from all of my time at mind shifting, studying it, it's like, something, that's a normal reaction. That's my part X. And I
Mhm.
think that everybody listening to this or watching it, has also, any time that they've tried to do something new, they've had that voice inside that says, who are you to do this? You can't do this. And then the thing about this part X is that it's going to criticize you no matter what you do.
Mhm.
It's the part X, and psychologists and psychiatrists talk about this. Um, Part X is the part of us, or a part of us, that tries to keep us safe by making us miserable for whatever, whatever we decide to do. So I know that by deciding I'm going to do these mind shifting Mondays with Mitch, my part X is going to be saying to me, Mitch, you can't do this. Nobody's going to want to listen to you. And then if I were to decide, something, well, maybe I won't do it. You're right. My part X is going to jump right back on me and say, Mitch, that's why you'll never reach your 5 million people, because you never follow through on anything. You always chicken out. That's what kind of person you are. And then if I were to say, well, something, well, why don't I try this 2 or 3 times? And my part X is going to jump on me again by saying, Mitch, that's what you always do also. Like, you try things, you never commit. Either you go full in or you full out, but no, you can't do that. And so, that's my part X. And I think
Mhm.
that every single one of us, well, I know from the studies that I've read, every one of us has this part X. And so then the question becomes, is how do you vanquish it? Okay. How do you stop listening to that part X? Like, you may be going in and teaching a new subject in school. You may be taking a new job. You may be considering doing something with a friend or doing something with your family, and your part X is there criticizing you. And our brains basically consider that as truth as we're going through it.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Is it well, before I do that, because I'm
Hmm.
here for you. I love you, Mitch. I really like the collar that you're wearing, but I can tell you from a producer standpoint,
It's
we're
it's a little bit
here.
uneven, huh?
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
no, the collar looks okay. It's just it's rubbing up against the microphone.
Okay.
And from a producer standpoint, that's going to cause me to shift my mind and start not liking you.
Okay.
But there
Let
you go.
me
You're
let me
better,
adjust it. Maybe
loud and
that's a little
clear.
bit better.
Is there a?
And wait a minute. So you're criticizing me?
Oh, I'm not
You
just criticizing.
like
I'm
you're attacking
judging.
me, right?
You are
Oh,
under
I'm sorry.
attack.
There goes my part X again. Thank you so much for the great suggestion. I just mind shifted.
You are under attack. Is it different because this mind shifting with Mitch on Mondays came together over the last couple of weeks, but we really kind of crystallized it Thursday and Friday of last week. Is it different when you have to fight a demon, but you only have a few minutes? Is it worse when you have more time? Is it not as bad when you only have a few minutes to think about it, or does it not matter? It just sucks.
Well, I would say it almost just sucks no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, and for different people, it's going to be different things. Some of us, if we don't think about it, we're gonna like jump off a high diving board. If we don't think about it, we're kind of walking on the diving board and we're thinking about something else. We get to the end, and we just jump. Other people, it's like, no, I want to think about it. Um, One of the things, I mean, there's so many methods that you can use to overcome this part X and this feeling. One of the things that you can do is you could imagine what success is going to look like. there's a comment from Brandon Jenkins here that says, a few compounded into millions makes it much more approachable than just going after 5 million. So, what I can imagine is, well, something. Let's say that we start off and we have 100 people who are practicing mind shifting, who are living resourceful, resilient, and collaborative lives, and then through that, those 100 people influence one person apiece. Well, now we have
Mhm.
200 people, and then those 200 people influence one person apiece. And now we have 400 people. So you can visualize that compounding, and then it makes that part X be a little bit quieter. Um, and then I'm looking at Brandon's comment again. This part X seems to be uh, equal to the underlying beliefs and assumptions we're subject to without even realizing it. And it's true. It's these voices that we have that we just assume it's the truth. And before mind shifting, if this voice had said to me, Mitch, you can't do this, I might have been able to fight it, but there's a good chance I would have said, something, yeah, this is really isn't a good idea, because I would have taken that as the truth.
Do you think that is it easier to do these things with a friend? Because I suggest you do this because I believe in you and I believe in this. I happen to have experience doing this, with Alvin and Ken on my team who are helping to produce this. So we are able to say, oh, we've experienced that. And then I'm jumping in the deep end with you, and I'm not a very good swimmer. So watch
But
out.
but you're another swimmer, and people are social animals. And
Okay.
so I would say, yes, having another person, a trained coach, okay, is extremely helpful. Having another person who understands the language, so that if you're about to do something, you're about to, let's say you were about to you're about to speak at a conference in front of 5,000 people, and you've never done that before. If, say, your wife is voiced in mind shifting, she can look at you and says, "Ah, I can see your saboteurs. They're at you again. But why don't you take a moment and let's just think about what success looks like?" And having another person do that for you is incredibly valuable. That's part of what that's one of the like the four methods that one could generally use in order to reduce the influence of part X or other behaviors that come from our survival brains.
Hmm. Is is there a Can you talk about the similarities and differences between imposter syndrome and mind shifting? I mean, are like I'm trying to make sure for the audience that we can that we're using the right terms, thinking about it the right way. Are those the same things? Am I mixing them up?
Well, so let's, bringing up the term imposter syndrome is so perfect because so many people suffer from it.
Mhm.
You think I can never do this. And so I would say imposter syndrome is very similar to part X, and it's been reinforced throughout people's lives that they are sure that they're not going to be able to do something. And once you're positive you're not going to be able to do something, or you're going to fail, chances are you're not going to be able to do it, or you are going to fail, or you're not even going to try. And that's where a lot of people's imposter syndromes come from. Mind shifting would be realizing that's not the truth. That's just my survival parts of the brain trying to keep me safe, prevent me from taking any risks that might cause me embarrassment, or uh, they think might harm me. And they're doing this through this part of me called the part X. And I can then say, instead of thinking that that part X, or that imposter syndrome, or that voice in my head is the truth, I can say, something, this is just a voice. It's a story. I don't have to follow it. I'm going to come up with my own story. I'm going to come up with a story that, I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to learn something. Or I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't work out the first time, next time I do it, I'm going to be better. And so those are two different stories that we can tell ourselves to get out of this, imposter syndrome, or out of this this part X, which basically drives us crazy and prevents us from being successful in so many different ways in our lives.
Did you use any of those tactics coming into today? Did you have any of those uh, voices from Part X that you had to silence or shift?
So I've had to work on those voices all weekend long.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're all human, right? And so, Friday, we were talking about this. And when we were done on Friday, it's like, I can do this. And then an hour later, I'm like, no, you can't.
Hmm.
Nobody's going to be there. Nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody's going to want to listen to you talk. And then it's like, wait a minute. That's my, part X. I understand you're trying to make me miserable. You're trying to keep me safe. It's okay. I'm going to do this and I'm going to learn from it. And then on Saturday, I wake up and I happen to be on a cancer walk, and I'm on this cancer walk, and I'm thinking I can walk around a circle for cancer, but I can't get up. I can't. This is not going to be successful. And it's like, no, Mitch, no, that's your part X again. You can you know you can really do this. And then talking to you, talking to uh, a couple other people I know were saying, Mitch, like you talk on webinars all the time. It's only a half an hour, no big deal. So yeah, all weekend long, Saturday, Sunday, this morning, it was all Mitch. You can't do this, and then it's like, no, that's just a voice. That's not reality. That happens every time any one of us tries something new. And you know something? I'm going to show you. I am going to do this.
Yeah.
And we may not get a ton of listeners the very first time. And I may not be the best speaker that the people have heard in the beginning, but I'll bet you in 2 months, I'm a lot
Yeah.
more polished. And
And
and we have
on
and
your
we have an
bingo
audience.
card, you didn't have this happening. You didn't have this shrimp walking
Aha.
in when I told her I was going to be doing something with Uncle Mitch, but it's all
Okay.
good. You
Pero
didn't have that
ella
on
habla
your bingo
español,
card.
¿no?
Sí, of
Entonces,
course, of
debemos
course.
hablar español.
She'd be happy to get on
I
and
know
speak
she
with
probably
you.
speaks Spanish like 10 times better than I do
She's
too,
a
with a much
phenomenal,
better accent.
phenomenal accent.
Yeah.
There's not too many, although you'd be surprised in San Miguel de Allende, there's not too many blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jewish girls walking around with beautiful Spanish accents, but she is one. But she just walked by,
Hmm.
and I saw it. I don't know if you saw it, but that's the type of stuff that happens on live TV, which is life is live TV, and we just have to kind of to go with that, right?
Right.
Like we
Right.
can't we can hope that it doesn't completely throw us for a loop. Um, but we also just have to rock and roll with them. When I was doing live TV in Harrisonburg, Virginia, at WHSV TV, I mean, so much stuff would happen. Lights would go out, or
Hmm.
the prompter would go down, or I'd have 30 tapes and they'd be all out of order, and you
Hmm.
just roll with it. Um,
Right.
there, there's a question there from Brandon. What will you do to absorb the learning from this experiment, Mitch?
Well, I'm learning that when I started off, uh, that I spoke much too loud or too fast, probably too loud also. I've learned to check my microphone. I've learned to look at the questions that are coming and see what happens. Um, and I've learned that I can talk. As I'm looking at the time now, and we're almost 2/3 done with a half an hour, and I look at the possible agenda, and I'm roughly halfway done.
Mhm.
So a half an hour goes pretty fast. So that's what I've learned so far. Um, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the video of this and write down ways that I could have improved it for the next one, and then I'll be on next Monday, and um, with either by myself, or if somebody volunteers to be a guest with the guests, and we'll start talking about other aspects of mindset.
Let me ask you a question in terms of learning things and having conversations and leveraging technology. What comes to mind when I do these shows is I will sometimes take the transcript and I will ask AI, our Ed Sales Elevation Experience chat GPT, what could I have done better? What could I have asked? What's a good follow up? What did I miss? So, in terms of how you absorb the learning, do you leverage ChatGPT or any other AI in terms of ways to uh, learn and or shift your mindset? Are you using AI at all?
So I had not thought of using AI to look at the transcripts of this in order to point ways that I could have improved it. So that's something that no, I haven't used AI that way. But I use AI as a tool all the time, and it's always interesting how many times it's saved me a lot of time, and how many times it's been completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Where I've asked it a question, and because there's areas that I have expertise in, it'll come up with an answer, and I'm like, that's completely wrong.
Yeah.
Like, or
And what do you say? What do you say to it? Because I've put it in its place before.
yeah, I say, well, I would like you to go on a different line of reasoning. I'd like you to assume that we're talking about, and then I'll list a bunch of background information, and then I'll say, and what you said before was so and so and so and so. That's actually been disproved, and so based on that new information, how would you answer it now? And I'll never get. I found I can never get an answer from AI that I'm 100% satisfied with. But if it gets me 80, 85% of the way to something that I think that I want to publish or write, and then I can tailor it after that, then
Mm.
it probably has saved me some time.
Speaking of mind shifting, I'll tell you one way I use AI is I have found it very helpful to use it in kind of confrontational situations.
People
For
disagree with you.
well,
I thought when you said something that people just lapped it in and did it.
no,
Me,
that's usually the case, which is why when people
okay.
don't, I'm like, what's going on here? I don't know how to deal with this.
Hmm.
But we had a tenant at one point that was really causing us some trouble in our home in Capitol Hill, and just like keyboard warrior, just pounding away. And so I was just allowing chat to answer and craft up the answers I wanted. Um, so I have been able, in situations where I would have written too much, probably been a little too emotional, allowed chat to write for me, um, which I don't know if that necessarily serves me in the long run, but it does help me to craft a less emotional
Mhm.
response.
So I in the conflict and collaboration book, and some of the things that we'll be going through in future sessions are things such as motivational interviewing, which is a way of talking to people about issues that might trigger them or might trigger you, or nonviolent communications, which is a way of locking in action from people with people who might not agree to those actions if they couldn't really see that those actions were in their best interest. And what I'll very often do is if I'm going to have a conversation with another person where I think this person is doing things that aren't in their best interest, I will describe that situation, and then I will go to AI and I will say, if you were having a conversation with this person to talk to this person about acting differently, how would you construct that conversation using motivational interviewing?
Hmm.
Now, I will say that the first iteration of that is never something that I could even come close to using. But once seeing that, I can say, no, no, you have to tweak this because the person is going to give a lot more resistance for the first two or three questions. What are questions that they're not going to resist as strongly? Or later on, I could say, yes, that this may be something the person can do, but it's going to be very easy for them to commit to that with me personally. But as soon as they go back and start doing it, their saboteurs are going to start convincing them not to do it, and they're going to back out of it. What are the things that we could do that will steel them and prepare them for battle so that they actually carry through? So you can propose questions like that about motivational interviewing or nonviolent communications, and then tweak them. And we'll be going through that in some of the upcoming episodes.
Great. Well, your friend, I'm assuming is your friend, Jenks.
I've never heard of him before. It's just he's a random person. I've heard though on the grapevine that he is an incredible coach for entrepreneurs.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And if you were starting a business and you really wanted to align the business with your values, he might be a person that you would talk to.
Okay. Well, he had to run. He
Yep.
was happy to be here. Um, you always got to get the first one out of the way, and I think we've begun to do that here.
Yeah, I do want to go back to that anxiety then, because we were talking about the part X, and I know that we're looking at time to close down, but there is one other thing that I want to say is that very often the situation is just the situation, and if we have anxiety or fear about doing that, sometimes that stress is something that can be used to motivate us, and so we can, for example, with the part X, we can say that part X is like, hey, you're trying to tell me I can't do it. I'm going to prove to you that I can. And we can, through our own shifting of our brain, change something that was stress related or distress, as psychologists would call it, into something that's eustress or something that's stress that motivates us to do even better. And to a large extent, that's what I did with this. Is like, how can I use this? How can I use the fact that I'm going to be doing this and I'm stressed out in order to get really motivated to try to do a great job? And so that's what I did.
I had some uh, similar questions very long time ago about could I do LinkedIn Lives? Could I provide value for 30 minutes? And I think that when you get to know your audience, when you know how you can help, when you know what is on their mind, then yes, you can take the time to have these conversations. And so, sounds like David Shea said it was a great first run. So I
What would
think
he
we've
know?
we've had
Who trusts him?
I don't know. That guy I do know, but I was going to keep that from people. So be like, oh my God, two people who Mitch didn't know showed up.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I'll tell you what the mind says. It doesn't matter if it's just you, me, and Alvin in Nigeria. A couple guys, one in DC, one in New York, and one in Nigeria. And Ken having set this up. Um, we just had to try this today, and it will only get better. And I appreciate you trusting me and the team that this is going to be really valuable for you and your business, and also for the people who do tune in many years from now
Well,
when we get
thanks.
our first listener.
Well, and there may be other listeners, and so if you're a
There
listener,
are.
or if you're listening to this on the repeat, I'll be here every Monday. Okay, feel free to send me your challenges. You can reach me on all the different platforms, Substack, LinkedIn, whatever, email. Send me your challenges and we can incorporate them. And for, some of the takeaways from today, uh, y- take away from this that when you start feeling anxious about something, we always try to sabotage ourselves every time we try something new. The fact that we're hearing these voices telling us that we can't do it, um, that's just our part X. That is not the truth. That's a part of us that's trying to keep us safe by making us miserable. When we realize that it's our part X, we can move on anyhow and we can regard those challenges as fun challenges. Maybe we can make a game out of it. Maybe we can make a joke out of it rather than regarding them as obstacles. And I'd like to just encourage everybody, try this over the next week. And we can talk about whatever happened. Send me your questions. And then I have one more piece that I want to get through to people is that there's one more week left to sign up for the pre-purchase team for the book, Conflict and Collaboration. And if you go to the website, mindshiftingwithmitch.com, and you sign up for the pre-launch team, you'll be able to download an advanced copy of the book, and you'll also be able to participate in a special forum that we'll be conducting for people in the advanced group. And I know, Josh, you're part of that group.
Proud team, proud member, absolutely. And John Greiner, who I never know if our good friend JG is tuning in from Georgia or Italy. And when I say Georgia, I mean the one below us, not the one in Europe
Hmm.
or Italy. But nonetheless,
Oh,
he's
wow.
always bringing it and very
Yeah.
good
Thank you,
guy.
John.
And you know, there goes Camila. Just don't worry about me. We're just trying to do a live show here, our first one. But it's all good.
Well, maybe one time we can get Camila on the show, and she can give a kid's perspective.
She, my Michael Fay, who was my COO of my second company, um, he has a very famous saying, at least in this house, uh, that I have not met a camera or a microphone I didn't like, and that apple does not fall far from the tree.
Okay.
Camila, Camila would be happy to join this, and she could lead it, but for now she can be in her room, and she's making a video for her mom, who she loves dearly, who has been gone for less than 12 hours, but feels like she needs to make a video for her. It's kind of
Wow.
weird. I
Really?
don't get any videos ever. You
No.
know,
Well, obviously you're number two. Your
it's okay.
wife is number one.
It's okay. That's another
That's
story.
okay.
I'll shift my mindset on that one.
No, no, you're number two. There's nothing you can do about it. You're not. You're just. You're not number one in her heart. That's
That's
the way it is.
interesting. So should I just accept what what my mind is telling me?
No, I think you should grovel. You should try to buy her.
Okay. What about feeding
I
her?
think you should get her more. More stuff. She paid me to say that, but I think you should get her more stuff.
This
And
kid
with
doesn't
that,
give a shit.
we're gonna end the stream. Thank you for everybody who joined us and who's watching on the repeat. And we'll see you. I'll see you on Mondays. And Josh, you're free to join